Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Week 12 Academic Writing Course online video lecture. It is Week 12, and that means that you should be finished your rough draft at this point. And for the next 2 weeks, we're going to work towards polishing that rough draft into a final draft. Okay, so just a reminder of what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, the term essay is a 5-paragraph minimum, 750 to 1,000 words. Okay, make sure you have the appropriate length, and make sure you're writing an academic, persuasive essay. Okay, we've defined that back in week 9, what our task is. I always like to remind you of it. And then we began brainstorming and generating and gathering information. And then I asked you to organize all of your ideas and thinking into a 1-page essay outline. And of course, I gave you some hopefully helpful guidance on that. And last week, hopefully, you're finished writing your rough draft. Your first attempt to take all the ideas that you generated or brainstormed or researched and then organized into an essay outline. And now you have put that into a 5-page essay with an introduction, body, and a conclusion as well. All right, but this week and next week as well, we want to improve that. We want to make that better. And to do that, we are going to do peer editing, and we're going to use an editing process. Okay, so this video, I would like to just describe the editing process and things to pay attention to in this process, so that you can kind of step by step work through this and work with your classmates to try and improve the essay. All right, so for this video, listen closely, make your own notes, but also you have, I think, about 4 pages in the materials this week that go along with this video. So make sure you follow that as well. All right, so obviously, the editing stage is where you get a chance to try and improve your work. All right, but let's just be clear about the 2 major objectives I have for this stage of the writing process when we are editing. All right, obviously, as I've already mentioned, our first objective is to try and take this term essay, this particular writing, and try and improve it and improve the essays of our classmates. Okay, so that's one clear objective that I'm sure you're all aware of. But what I want to remind you of too, objective number 2, or B if you'd like. Remember everything we studied from week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and even conciseness and whatnot. Okay, writing has so many things to think about, and in this course, to develop your academic writing, it's hard to consider all of them at once and just to think about them abstractly. But now we have our own writing, and you have the writing of your classmates who all share the same objective, even though you may have, or you do have, different topics and different ideas. But why editing is so helpful, and why I really put a lot of importance and emphasis on editing, is that it not only helps to improve this particular writing, but it is a time and a setting where you can apply all of the important skills and concepts that throughout this course we have studied. So through this editing process, it is another period of reflection and a period where we can apply those skills and concepts to, as I said, not only our own writing, but the writing of our classmates. And through this reflection and application, we can really develop just how we understand those skills and concepts. Okay, so I think when this course is over and in the future, anytime you have to do any more academic writing or any kind of writing in general, by understanding the skills and concepts and applying them as we have done, it should hopefully give you a pathway to be more successful at your writing, and not only that, you'll have a more developed understanding of what makes for effective writing. Okay, so I'm talking about how to use academic language, how to structure your essay, understanding what an introduction, a body, and a conclusion does in academic writing in an essay. Okay, understanding just what a good, strong thesis is, understanding how to use logos appeals, pathos appeals, ethos appeals, how to write concisely if your writing or other people's writing is too wordy. All right, at this time, it's really the best time to really authentically apply those skills and concepts. All right, because hopefully the hard part is already finished. You've spent time at your computer writing your rough draft, getting all of those ideas that you brainstormed and organized into an essay, but now we can sit back and read it and see and judge and analyze how successful we've been in the writing process so far. But let's continue now trying to improve the writing and thinking about all the little aspects that go into making successful writing. All right, so this week, that's what we want to do. So your rough draft should be finished. If it's not finished right now, finish it immediately. Remember that it is a rough draft. It is not a perfect draft. It is going to be full of mistakes. And over the next 2 weeks, by working with your classmates, you are going to polish that rough draft. You're going to improve it. You're going to eliminate as many mistakes as you can so that the product, the end product, your final draft is going to be as good as you can make it when you submit it to me in week 14. All right, so let's talk about the editing process, how to edit correctly. All right, I've made that onto just one simple page to try and keep it relatively simple for you. And let's just talk about how to do that effectively. All right, so first and foremost, let me start by just reminding you about writing and that it is an art. Okay, so up at the top of this note, I've included a really helpful, I think, quote by Leonardo da Vinci. And he said, art, which in this case means your writing, okay, your writing is never finished. It is only abandoned. All right, so take time to think about what that means. Art is never finished. It is only abandoned. All right, what that means is you have your essay. Okay, you're going to do everything you can to try and make it better, but you have to realize it will never be perfect. It will never be finished. As much as we try and eliminate every single mistake, Okay? And then finally, we will have to abandon our work. That means you will have to submit it to me for grading. All right? But even in any kind of writing outside of this class, right? You will always have to stop and abandon your work sometime. Okay? And you try as you might to make it as good as you can. There will always be mistakes, but you will eventually run out of time, right? Because the due date comes, or you will run out of patience and energy. You will say, enough, I've had it, I'm done with this writing. It is as good as it is going to get. All right? So art is never finished, it is only abandoned. So our goal then is somewhat of a paradox. We will try as hard as we can to make it perfect, but we have to know it will never be perfect. Okay? So we might find every single grammatical mistake, every single spelling mistake, every little mechanical mistake. We can improve those, all right? Those are mostly black and white, right or wrong. But even then, you're always going to have people who have different opinions about how to properly express your ideas. Okay? How you express your idea in a sentence, in a paragraph, in an essay is probably going to be different from mine. So we can share different opinions about what is the best way to express our idea. So there's never going to be a perfect agreement about what that is. Okay, so again, let me just stress that in this editing stage, okay, your art is never going to be finished. But we share here and we apply our knowledge and we think about writing, academic writing, and how to make it better. But especially in this editing stage, we will find out everybody has different opinions. Okay, so listen to those opinions. They're from people that are trying to help you and trying to make your essay better. But we will never have perfect agreement there. So remember, when you submit your final draft, you will have listened to all of the wonderful suggestions from your classmates. But remember, this essay is your work. So you have the final decision about how you want to express your ideas. Okay? The last decision is yours. The final edit is yours. All right. So, hopefully, again, this editing process will not only make this essay, this term essay that we're writing, better, but it will also help you to develop your understanding and your skills as a writer in general. Okay? Now, some of you might be a little bit worried. You might consider, humbly that, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not that good of a writer, and maybe my English skills aren't sufficient. You might lack a little confidence there, okay? And I'm sure nobody's English here is perfect, and nobody's writing skills and understanding of writing is perfect, okay? But that doesn't mean you can't help each other, okay? When we talk about language, right, we all have different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to language. Some of you might know grammar very well. Some of you might know vocabulary very well. Okay? That's just language. Some of you, when it comes to writing, you might have a lot more writing experience than others. Okay, that's a separate skill from the language skill. And some of you might have lesser writing skills or understanding. Okay, so everybody here in this class has some kind of mixture of strengths and weaknesses. Okay? So by sharing and by communicating with each other and using our writing, our communication, our expressed ideas, we can learn a lot about how people communicate, how each of us individually communicates, and we can try to improve that. And through sharing, by having an audience, we really do learn a lot about how other people read our writing, how they understand our expressions and our thinking through this communication. And that can be a really eye-opening experience for your development as a writer. Okay, so I really do want to encourage you to participate fully and sincerely in the editing process, because in my experience as a student and as a teacher, this step of the writing process has so many benefits if you do it right. Okay? And even if you are the worst student in this class, your language skills are the lowest. Your understanding of writing is the lowest. You still have a wonderful opinion that can help somebody else in this class. And even if you are on the other end, okay, let's say you are the best student in this course. Your language is impeccable, almost perfect. Your writing skills are almost fully developed, okay? You're the best student in this class. Good job. You obviously still have a lot to learn from other people, because writing is communication, and communication requires the other. It needs an audience. So even if you end up being paired with or matched with the worst student and you're the best student, or vice versa, okay? If you're the worst student, the best student can teach you a lot and really help to improve how you communicate your ideas. And for you to give your essay to the best student can see how a less successful essay works. And if that student really is a good student, they can analyze what makes for poor writing and really take that to their mind and think about how that applies. Think about how other people are thinking and making mistakes. And they can really use those mistakes to improve how they can clearly communicate in the future. All right? Trust me on this. In my experience, there is so much to learn, no matter what your level of language skills or writing skills are. And the truth is, there probably is no top student perfectly, and there's no bottom student perfectly. Absolutely. All right? Everybody has a long history of experience and learning, and you all have various different strengths and weaknesses. So by sharing those strengths and weaknesses, hopefully we can all improve. We can all lift our experience and knowledge and understanding and develop as writers. Okay? So please do not be shy or overly humble about sharing your opinions and your experience in this exercise of peer editing. And as I said, remember, each of you, you have the final decision about what goes in your essays, how it is in the final draft. So listen to what everybody has to say about your essay, whatever advice, comments, corrections, compliments, suggestions. Listen to all of it. But remember, the final choice is yours. Okay? All right. So when we are editing, and this week and next week, we have 2 full weeks. You are going to exchange your rough draft, I guess, via email, via a Microsoft Word document to each other, and you are going to try and improve that for each other. And when you do that, let's try to follow. All right, we're going to be using the same groups as the essay outline. Okay, those peer groups. You're going to use those same people who read your outline to help edit your rough draft essay. Okay, so when you do that, exchange those rough drafts, those 750 to 1,000 word, 5-paragraph minimum, academic persuasive essays. Exchange those with each other. And the first step you're going to do as an editor here is just to read. Okay, step 1 in the editing process is just read. Forget about your pen or changing colors in your word processor. Don't look for any mistakes. Just read. Read through the content. Keep in mind what the objective of this assignment is, right? Is it 5 paragraphs long? Is it an academic persuasive essay, right? Is it 750,000 to 1,000 words? And just read through and try to understand what that person has written. Okay, read it once, twice, 3 times. The more you read it, the better understanding you'll have. Okay, but don't make any corrections the first 2 to 3 times that you read it. Just read it casually. Remember what the objective is, and when you get to the end of it, try to summarize what that essay says. Okay, when you finish reading, can you in your mind easily summarize what the main idea, the thesis is? Can you summarize what the main supporting ideas are? And can you remember how those points are developed? All right, and think about that. Okay, if you can easily summarize what the essay is about and what its main point is, and it seems reasonable to you, then that's kind of a good sign. All right, it seems like that essay seems to have done its job. All right, but step 1, just read it and think about the objective and try to summarize it. Step 2. Okay, now you want to pick up your pen or change your font to red font or blue font or a different colored font. And now you want to really get into the essay and try to improve it in a way that you think would help. Okay, and again, we all have different opinions. Some things are obvious and they're right or wrong. Other things, it's just a matter of opinion. All right, but don't be shy about sharing that opinion. So step 2 is our first edit, and that is an edit for content. Now, when I mean content, I mean the content of ideas. So forget about any grammar problem, forget about any spelling problem, punctuation problem, spacing, format, font size. Forget about all the little stuff. The first time you edit after reading, you want to think about the ideas, the content of ideas. So when you read the introduction, does it narrow a topic down and give you a very concrete, strong, specific thesis? And because we're writing a persuasive academic essay, is that thesis clear? Does it take a side? Does it provide a reason for discussion? And can you understand it? Is it logical? Okay, and then read through the body. Okay, do each of the topic sentences present the main point of that body paragraph? And does that main point do its job of supporting the thesis? And when you read each body point, is the evidence that's given evidence that supports the main point, that supports the thesis? Okay, think about the overall argument, and that is all based on ideas. Okay, the ideational content. That is what you're trying to edit for. So if you see some ideas that, in your opinion, don't seem to connect or don't seem to support, whether it's the supporting idea of that section or the overall essay, think about why. What is wrong? Okay, where is there a weakness or a failure? Is it in the wording? Should the language be changed? Is there some information missing? Is the logic flawed? Okay, pay attention to those things, all right? The logic of ideas, the development of ideas, and the language used to express those ideas. Okay, think about how successful that is. All right, so that's step 2, and I've included on this page a kind of checklist to follow. Because if you don't have a lot of experience in editing and writing, having a checklist to help remind you of all the different aspects that make for successful, effective writing, then it's really helpful to have a checklist to remind you about what needs to be done to make for successful writing. So, step 2, after reading, edit for the ideas, the content of ideas. Look at that and try to improve it. Give your kind of logical analysis about what is done successfully. All right, you can compliment somebody on a wonderful argument, or if there's some aspect or aspects that could, in your opinion, be improved, do not be shy about giving your opinion there. All right, once you are satisfied that you have understood the content, the ideas of the essay, next you want to move on to editing for what I call form or format. Some of you might call it proofreading, but here, this is where you're going to have to look closely, and you're going to have to use all of your best knowledge about grammar and spelling and format. Okay, so form really is asking you to look at all the little mechanical mistakes, right? Did the person use the right verb conjugation, the right verb tense, past, present, future? Is there a problem with the grammar of how you structured a sentence? Okay. Punctuation problems, all right? Pay attention to those. That's form. All right. The second part, format, I'll give you more information on that next week in week 13, when you can start to really shift to finishing the final draft. So the format really talks about how your essay looks on a page. So do you have the right spacing? Do you have the right capitalization for your title? Do you have the right font, Times New Roman? Do you have the right font size? Okay, does everything look like it should look on the page? That's format. Okay, so again, next week I'll give you more information about that, so you can pay closer attention to that. All right, so in the first week of editing, maybe pay more attention just to form, the mechanics. Okay, but that is all the small stuff. All right, so those are the 2 different forms of editing: content, 1, and 2, form and format. Now, I put content first because if you have to make any big changes in content, that usually means you have to rewrite. You have to write again, kind of your essay or parts of your essay. And if you make big changes to parts of the essay, then you must look again to see if there's any form mistakes, any more grammatical mistakes, all right, because you have changed the sentence and the words, and make sure that's all okay, all right? So those are the two kind of real editing we're going to do. So just to review, read casually, summarize, keeping in mind the objective. Step 2, read but edit for content, the ideas. Step 3, read for form and format. Form is all the spelling, grammar, punctuation. Format is how it looks on the page numbers, margins, spacing, font size. Okay, and as you do that editing, step 4, which is kind of at the same time as 2 or 3, you want to write comments. Okay, so write your specific comments, or if you're doing this probably on your computers, right? I recommend Microsoft Word because that's what you need to submit to me. And if you use Microsoft Word, you can probably use Google Docs. That's an easy way to do some online document editing. It just hit suggestions when you're there, and it'll show your comments, corrections, suggestions in a different color when you reply with that file. Okay, so again, here I want to encourage you, do not be shy about giving your opinions. So it's a rough draft. It's going to get rough. It's going to get ugly. You're going to write all over your classmates' rough draft. Okay, so if you're reading a sentence and you think that it can be improved, then right there you want to write in your comment, your correction, your suggestion, your advice, or your compliment, right? You read the thesis statement, you think, wow, that's impressive. You can say, excellent thesis statement, okay? Or if you want, you read that thesis statement, think, this word I don't think is the best word. Then here you say suggestion, right? How about this word? I think it's better, okay? That can be helpful. Just a suggestion for your classmate. But don't be shy about writing your specific comments or suggestions right into that rough draft, okay? That is our purpose, right? Everybody here is trying to get better, and we need each other to not be shy and give us their honest opinions about how we can improve. So everybody here has the same goal, and we have a good heart, and we're trying to help each other improve. And so far in my communications with most of you, everybody seems so open-minded about trying to get better. I mean, really, that's why you took this course. So let's take that advice and let's give that advice constructively with the idea that we're all trying to get better at this project. Okay? Write those specific comments right on the rough draft. Perhaps what you can do too is if you're sending it via email to each other, in the actual email, you can write kind of your general analysis of the rough draft. And then in the file, you can have the very specific comments or corrections in that. All right. And of course, the last step in the editing process, step 5, is to conference. All right. So you can have a little back and forth. When you send that file back to the writer, maybe that writer has a couple questions for you, or you might have some questions for him or her. Have some communication. All right. By sharing knowledge and communicating our different opinions about how successful the writing is, this is where we get such a more developed and better understanding of how to communicate in academic writing. Okay? It's really eye-opening. That's been my experience as a student and as a teacher. So I strongly encourage you, the more advice you can give, the better this exercise will be to improve not only this assignment, but also improve your overall understanding as a writer. Okay? All right, so that is our project for the next 2 weeks. And of course, in week 14, I will be asking you to submit your final draft to me. All right, so just a reminder, send your rough drafts to each other in your peer editing group. You do not need to send me your rough draft. Okay, as much as I would love to read your rough draft and go through this process with you, I do not have time to give feedback for not only the essay outline, but a rough draft and a final draft. That takes too much time. All right, that's why we have these peer groups, and you can share with each other. All right. I have 50 students in this class, and it takes me at least 30 or 40 minutes to give feedback on a full essay. And I will give you as much feedback as I can on your final draft when you submit it for grading. But I cannot give you full feedback on your rough drafts. I just do not have the time for that. But within your peer groups, you do have enough time over the next 2 weeks to deeply analyze and give feedback for each other's work. All right. So also in the notes this week, I have included 2 pages here. The first one is common mistakes in writing with editing abbreviations. Okay, so these short forms, SP, right? SP is an abbreviation, a short form for spelling mistake. So when you're editing each other, you can use these different abbreviations just to make it a little bit easier and quicker for you to show possible mistakes in your classmates' writing. Okay, and some things will require more explanation, but if it's just a simple spelling mistake, you can just write SP, right, or type SP, and that can identify that you have shown the writer a spelling mistake. All right, so you can read through those notes. That can help you in your mission to improve each other's writing over the next 2 weeks. Okay, so that's it for this week. Since we have 2 weeks, I do recommend maybe this week just focus on the content and the form as much as you can, and then next week when I give you a little video lecture and I'll give you more information about format, how it looks on the page, then you can really focus on those smaller details. So maybe the first time you edit through, just focus on largely the content and as many of the little spelling and grammar mistakes as you can. Okay, because editing itself is a process, and through working with our classmates, we can slowly start to eliminate as many of the mistakes as we can and really polish our draft, our rough draft. Take it from a rough draft to a smooth draft, a final polished draft. Okay, and remember, it'll never be perfect, but we should always be trying to make it perfect, even if we know that it'll never be 100% free from mistakes, because we all have different opinions. Okay, and of course, at the end of the editing stage, you yourself personally will want to do some self-editing. So at the end of the editing process, think about all the wonderful corrections and suggestions that your classmates have given you, But remember, this is your baby, it's your essay, and you do have the final edit, the final decision about how you want this writing to read and what should be included in it. That's your decision. All right, so good luck with the editing. I hope you really enjoy this time, because you really get a chance to see how other people are trying to meet this objective, and you can really learn a lot from each other's strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so good luck to you and take care. And if you have any questions about the process, please feel free to email me or contact me. But remember, don't send me your rough draft. I don't have time to do everybody's, so I can't do anybody's, in just for fairness. Okay, but I promise you, I'll give you plenty of feedback when I get your final drafts in week 14. All right, take care, everybody, and good luck.